Hey everybody, give me just a second. This is Breaking the Cage, Astrology TV, the Matrix Minds Media. Let me post it out like I always do real fast. One more time. Doo-doo. We've got a lot going on. All right. Turn that off. It is April 2nd through April 9th this week is for the energy that we're going over. And you've got a full moon coming in. But that full moon's not fully playing the part that you probably expected to. Or that most people are telling you about. Give me just a second. I'm trying to get my incense burning. All right. Because if you were watching last week or whatever, I started forewarning you that you've got the eclipses coming in. And the eclipses always make a little bit of a different situation. Eclipses, the equinox, solstices tend to take a larger portion of the energy away from your typical moon phase. It's amplifying the moon phase, yes, but because it's derived at a longer period of time. And we're looking at the eclipses coming in. Let me just say what I'm getting from Spirit is the horns. Mess with the bull and you're going to get the horns. But this goes both good and bad, because what they're really directing me at is, first off, pay attention to the horns. So they're telling me to pay attention to Aries and Taurus energy. But they're also telling me mainly, really, it's a lot of the idea of the Taurus or the bull energy. Whether you're looking at it from astrological perspective or from like the metaphysical and the spiritual perspective. The bull has been known through all of time to deal with, wealth, health, abundance. But when we tap it into the astrology side, it also deals with new birth, the new season of birthing in general, coming into spring. But it's also speaking to us, Taurus energy speaks to us also of our own rebirth, of our own individuality, our self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, and our manifestation. A lot of this is going to have to do with your manifestation, and this is where I'm giving you, mess with the bull, get the horns, a little bit of that bull energy, because bull is also stubborn, can be very inflexible, can, or the ram even. Ram will just stare you down and keep headbutting you, whether it's right or wrong. That's that Aries energy. So like I said, it's the horns are coming out. Spirit was giving me a lot of, you're getting with this energy and this upcoming eclipses coming in, that we're looking at a ton of exposure, which is going to be mainly coming out of Pluto's energy. But we're also seeing sabotage or self-sabotage in this energy. Let me have a sip of my drink. Not to mention, you have the full moon that's taking place in Libra. This is wow. I was going to say scrutiny, but what I'm hearing is mutiny on relationships. I was saying last week, the gloves, the masks and the gloves more or less are coming off. Well, everything that's about those relationships that you keep, including your work relationships, not just the relationships you have with your husband, your wife, your family, but anything you care about, you have a relationship with. But I'm talking about, because of Pluto moving into Aquarius as well, we're talking about your groups, your memberships, your work friends and so forth like this. You're starting to really see like I said, those masks are coming off. You're seeing the exposure for what it is. There is no place left to hide. It's coming out of left field, left and right. And who your true colors, or the true colors, are being shown. Okay? That full moon is going to be taking place in Libra. And then we're going to have that eclipse at the end of the month in Aries. There is your horns. So this is everything coming up, being brought for you to not drive yourself in the wrong direction by the time of this eclipse. Eclipses always bring up to you major changes that are taking place. They were often seen as, negative things, but this isn't necessarily, some of it's negative, but this isn't necessarily to be viewed as negative. It's being brought to light to show it to you so that you can direct that next 6 months of energy. But you have two eclipses, because you've got the first one, which is in Aries, and then you're going to have the lunar eclipse, which is going to be taking place in May 5th. So I'm looking at all the way out that far for you guys right now. Not to mention you have Mercury, which is moving into Taurus this week. Now, here's part of the key here with that horn energy that I'm getting from Spirit, is you've got to realize you've got 5 planets sitting in Aries. You also got 5 planets sitting in Taurus, and you've got Mercury sandwiched in between, which is communication. Not to mention, on that full moon day, Mercury starts to walk into its shadow period before it goes retrograde. So we're already starting to see things more from that negative perspective, more from that lower vibration perspective, more from that me, I'm all in my head, and more self-conscious, just about ourselves. But that's what Mercury does. When it starts to go retrograde, you have to understand it's the communication. It's not just your computers and so forth. Mercury is your communication. And when it's only starting to talk to you about the things that you've been avoiding seeing the truth in shadow, versus being in retrograde, then going back into shadow, it's going to be starting to only think about you and paying no attention to what's going on around you. So this is definitely starting to bring it out, knock, 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 knock on your head, and make you really start to see this. Like I said, you'll be entering shadow the same day that you have that full moon in Libra. Here's the kicker, though. Sorry, that's something in my eye. Here's the kicker. Right before you have that full moon, the moon's still already going to be in Libra the day before. But it's going to be crossing over Ceres and Make-Make. Make-Make is, I've said to you several times, most of the astrologers don't bring up this energy. Make-Make is, how are you on the lotus flower growth? Thinking about the fact that the lotus flower is one of the ideas we see as the most spiritually evolved idea of how we grow. Understanding it grows from the nasty, muddy swamp, and eventually it's kind of bobbing, a little bit of starting to birth and come out of the swamp, and eventually it will bloom, but it's a little bit above, a little bit of below. It sees some good, it sees some bad, versus starting to grow. Ceres is not Sirius Star, Ceres, which they're going to be coming very close to. This moon energy is going to be moving over it right before this. This is in your relationship house. This is nurturing or neglecting energy. It's also the threefold. It's karma coming back at you in these relationships, and it's in opposition with Aries. Aries is your personal character, how you view the world, how you identify with the world, and how the world identifies with you, versus the relationships that you are in, that you keep. And like I said, you've got right before this, you have Ceres, which is talking about being able to have healthy relationships, nurturing or neglecting them. She also speaks about rebirthing and bringing like grain and stuff to you for food in that form. So she's speaking to you about not nurturing right here and now, nurturing the long run, nurturing what will feed the soul, what will feed the relationship, what is healthy and what's being neglected here, versus are you seeing your part in it? Make is, what kind of relationship are you creating? You're not creating. Well, what kind of relationship is there that you already have? Remember, last week Spirit was saying that we had a lot of product of your own environment going on, and just how much power are you giving that environment versus how much power are you giving yourself to be able to be separated from that environment and be in your own power. Now you're addressing this in with these relationships, people, places, things, work, friends, committees. All of this is technically forms of relationships and your part in them. All of that's going to be showing itself right before the full moon. But Spirit, like I said, is saying with a lot of this energy, especially ever since Pluto moved into Aquarius for one. It's only going to be here for like, I think, 2 months before he starts to go back into retrograde, and will eventually go back to Capricorn, where he will remain until the end of this year. But you're getting a good 2 months head up of, don't screw this up, get on the right path now, you'll be a year ahead. And you got to remember, I'm starting to talk a little bit about the blueprint. I'm about to go into the blueprint. But Pluto is exposing everything in these relationships. Everything in these relationships, these committees, these groups, these memberships, outside society responsibility to you. And how is that in sync or not? He's exposing the truth. But he's also your sexual organs. When we look at the body parts, he's also everything that has to do with your fertility. He's also has everything to do with your immune system. So this is also speaking to you of not just bouncing back, your ability. Everybody's been exhausted lately. That is not just from all of that sun energy that you all were hearing about the other day, or from the geomagnetic storms. Pluto is also dealing with your immune system. And think about it. He just jumped into this sign he's not been in for over 200 years. Here's the kicker, what most people are missing. He hasn't been in this sign for over 200 years. The way you're used to healing, he's showing you. You got 2 months to get this through your thick head, the way you were used to healing. Over the last 30 years, that's he's been working in Capricorn. And he's going to go back there. But he's giving you a heads up and acknowledging that's not going to be the same anymore. We're going to be doing things differently. We're just taking evaluations, kind of throwing a little bit of information out there, before we go back into retrograde, slap some shit around, make it right, and then come back to start all over again. He's doing into a new sign. Your ideas of what he's going to bring to this energy is going to change. So the way that we've looked at our emotional indifferences, our spiritual indifferences, our physical indifferences, and our healing, with him moving into Aquarius just for this 2 months, even though he's going to retrograde back and he's going to come back next year, he's also warning you, the way you've been doing it, we're about to change that up. We're about to make major changes in the way that these healing are taking places, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. Well, like I said, this is being open-minded enough to get on board with understanding the new changes that are coming in and how to do it in a better, healthy way. I'm going to get into that a little bit more when I get into the blueprint itself. Like I said, I'm getting a lot of mess with the bull, you get the horns, but I'm getting a lot of also like the devil card. And because the bull can be very abundant wealth, all kinds of very wonderful things going towards you. But you've also got to look at the horn side of it from a different perspective. The self-sabotage comes with the devil card of, that necessarily going to Amsterdam and getting into all of that is not going to be the best thing for you, but you're still intrigued. You're still curious. You still want to know. You want to walk down that path. That's what I call vampire syndrome. Things that necessarily isn't going to work out good for you, but you still want to just grab a hold of it and try it. This is desire and allowing desire to rule you. That has a lot to do with where we're dealing with that Neptune and that Saturn energy, that misunderstanding of how we correct and make healing versus illusion and delusion. Because, like I said, we're going into this next 3 years of Saturn and Neptune coming closer together before they leave Pisces and go into Aries. You are literally dealing with like Amsterdam energy, red lights, the red light district. What flies there will only fly there. It's the idea of realizing these relationships that we have, and where are we in full delusional idea of what they are? Where are we making excuses? Where are we still, as I was getting into last week, mama's boy? But I don't mean mama's boy as in the boy. I mean more as in the mama. Where are we enabling the situation? Where we keep making excuses for something that's not healing? And that's the self-sabotage. This is the exposure coming up, slapping you back down. Like I said, you've got an eclipse coming in Aries, in the horns, and trying to go into new beginnings. All right, let me get into the blueprint a little bit. Before I fully do the blueprint, I want to go over a little bit of the moon, though, because I'm adding it to the blueprint the way I do it. Because the moon's movement has a lot to do with our emotional indifferences, as well as our physical body. And when the moon is going through Virgo, it's going to go through Virgo, Libra, where the full moon will take place, and then into Scorpio. All right, as we travel through this week. Virgo is going to be getting into a lot more of that, the stomach and the abdomen energy. It's more or less going to be in that sacral and solar plexus energy. A little bit of a mixture of this. It can also deal with some of the kidneys and your bladder, and because of where all of that is technically in the body. But it's not getting along with Aries in any way, shape, or form. While it's here those first 2 days. This is saying your groups, your memberships, your committees, what you're part of, and are you being manipulated? When we're looking at the perspective of it not getting along with Aries energy, you're saying from an emotional perspective, are you standing in your power? Are you standing in your power in the form of knowing who you are, where you stand? I don't mean by like standing in your power, but in the mean of, this is where I stand on things. This is what I want to be. This is how I want to be seen. This is who I am. I'm viewing the situation correctly. And then you look at your daily routines, your mundane tasks, your people, places, and things, because that is what Virgo is. And it is speaking to, are you being manipulated into what has to be done versus what you need to get done? Groups, memberships, committees, people, places, things, outer world, daily routines, mundane tasks. The only reason the mundane is because you do it so much that you overlook it. And it has a lot to do with your manifestation. You're manifesting like this, and we have to learn the manifesting is also changing right now with that with that Saturn and that Neptune here, because it is wanting a lot more grounded manifesting. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Say you want to hear a song on the radio, or you're hoping to see a movie that you haven't seen for a while on the TV, or I even do it as a playing and testing my skills, trying to, pay attention to the light while I'm driving a few lights ahead and shifting the lights. These are all things we manifest, but we do it so quick and it means nothing. I hope that this will come on and, oh, look, it did. You got the movie or the song or da-da-da. Well, come on. These are the things you aren't trying for. These are the easy manifestings. The things that are the big deal that you care about. You've got to make sure that you're grounding that manifestation in something that is, a foundation for it to be grounded on, for growth. And we're seeing that where we used to teach you that positive thinking and believe in it, set it out there into the universe, send that energy out there and just believe in it. Yeah and no. I mean, you can believe in it, but if you're believing in something that has no real place of landing, this is what I'm saying. We're seeing things from a different perspective here, and we're really looking at how to make that come about. So we want to go into your people, places, and things, your committees, your groups, your memberships, what you are a part of, and where are you manifesting properly? Where are you addressing and being responsible for these pieces? Because that's going to be in that sacral chakra and that solar plexus energy. Then it's going to be moving into Libra, where we have that full moon, where it's still not getting along with Aries, nor Venus, nor Mars. So your yin, your yang, your sensitivity, which is still in Taurus, Mars, which is now in Cancer, your inner emotional security, and then tapping into the identity of who and what you are, and the relationship zone. Will you sell yourself out? What it's asking you. And then you're going to be, and that's mainly going into your solar plexus, also your kidneys, your bladder, your gallbladder. I'm telling you, if you're having problems in these areas and you're feeling it, and these situations are, it's showing you where blockages are, so that you know how to work on them. And then we're going into Scorpio energy with the moon, and it's not going to be getting along with Mercury. Your communication. Scorpio still has the South Node in it. It also has Haumea entering it. It is your collective consciousness about what has to change, what you've been taught wrong, and what you need to be able to rebirth and grow and blossom in. It's your 8th house, which is the responsibilities of the relationships. It's your joint efforts, joint resources of these relationships, and where they are capable of rebirthing. But it all has to do with proper communication and if it's being spoken or not. And that is all having very sensitive energy this week. All week long, Mercury is under scrutiny from both sides, and it's going in shadow. When we get into more of this blueprint, like I said, you've got Neptune and Pluto, Neptune and Saturn, which is now in Pisces energy. And what nobody is going to talk to you about here in this blueprint is that's also a chakra energy. It's some of the lower chakras, which is of lower vibrations. It's speaking to us of our consciencelessness, where we have no conscience, where we're not aware of things, we're holding on to the bad energies. It's where the lower vibration resides. And you're taking your magic, your rules, laws, and boundaries of your Saturn, and you're talking directly to destructiveness. This is your feet. Where are your feet walking you into? Are your feet walking you into more destructive patterns, more destructive energies, more destructive places? It's speaking to you of addressing where we're holding on to these things, where we're holding on to revenge, where we're holding on to that inner torture, where we're holding on to the consciencelessness. I said it that way because I want to make sure you're not thinking I'm saying conscious. I'm saying consciencelessness. Meaning, I don't give a crap if I hurt you. All I care about is me. Consciencelessness. This is very much me first energy. And too freaking bad for you. So you're looking at, are you building from that lower perspective? Are you manifesting your magic in that? Because like I said, you've got to have some very grounded magic right now to make it come fully into fruition. We're also looking at that Pluto energy, like I was saying, and how it is speaking about your immune system, as well as your reproductive energies. But in the chakra energies, it is speaking, even though it's technically the calves and the ankles, it's speaking to you of where are you holding on to extra intense energies that are not good for you, in the form of like prolonged confusion, and you're keeping yourself going in this area. Where are you in that instinctive willfulness, meaning like a dog eat dog world? It's a dog eat dog world. It's all about me and first come first serve, push and shove. I'm gonna get my way. Because a lot of us have been backed into that corner, and we're looking at the lower vibrations. This is not what you want, but this is what I try to explain. If you continue to just work on those upper chakras, you know, from the root chakra up, with no care about the ones from the hips down, you're wasting your time. You have got to clean that ego all the way through. This is where they reside, and they just start to sift back up, starting to block things all over and over and over again. And we're talking about that materialistic energy, where all that matters is advancement in the three-dimensional world, because I'm not thinking on that higher spiritual perspective. This is where jealousy and fear and anxiety get very high in that prolonged confusion. Pluto is trying to teach you how to not follow that perspective here, how to be part of that Aquarius pouring that water into us. But Pluto is your source. Neptune is your magic. Pluto is your source. Pluto is a lot like Mars, passion, action, aggression, your inner fire, but he's the fucking spark, where Mars is the fire. He can't ignite. Mars can't. Without any of Pluto there. Pluto is what you're scared of about your own self. It's part of your source energy that you still haven't fully been able to tap into. And he's trying to make you tap into it more by acknowledging these things that we're going to start working on in the next year now. And like I said, exposing all of this stuff in the relationships about yourself and the relationships that you're keeping. You also have that energy in Aries, which still has the Sun, Chiron, Jupiter, and Vesta in it, which is basically dealing with all of the nerves, the spinal cord, where it's starting to connect into where the head is connecting to the spinal cord and going up and down all chakras. It's connecting to how your brain actually is working, seeing, connecting what it's collecting, connecting and what it's collecting. How it's going to perceive the world and put it in your eyes. It's also speaking to you about the muscles of your face. This is, like I said, muscles of your face. We're talking about the smile, the frown, seeing the true faces coming out of people. And it has Mercury leaving Aries, going into Taurus, where it will then have the North Node, Juno, Uranus, and Venus. Like I said, it's sandwiched in between, with Mercury going into shadow. Taurus energy is your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem, how you create and manifest according to that level of self-worth, self-value, and self-esteem. Are you the one in power of your own life? Do you have dignity? Do you believe in that? Or are you kind of not comfortable in your own skin? This is where Mercury is going to start messing with you if you are not in your power, if you are not in your comfort zone. This is where it's going to start messing with your self, your inner emotional security. And this is why I'm saying it this way. This is about making sure that you're in that self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, that you are not being the possession of someone else, but that you are actually in possession of your own energy. This is also where we're getting a lot of that zeal point energy that connects the psychic attack. Both Mars and Mercury Venus and Mercury are flying through this energy. So, I mean, they're all over it. They're not gonna, it's not gonna be here for long, even though it's gonna retrograde back, then it's gonna come back. But Venus is not going to be hanging out here much longer. She's going to be leaving this sign, so this is the good time to use her sensitivity and that communication skills to get you in the right direction. Not to be manipulated, but it must be to know how to manipulate for you with that proper charm and standing the ground. This has a lot to do with your value. You have that Cancer energy, which is basically in the ribs. It is protecting the heart. Okay? We are dealing with it still on the heart. A lot of this has to do with the heart in the last couple weeks. It's been left and right with the heart. You also have Pallas here, which is Athena, the warrior goddess. All right? Strategic thinking in your inner emotional security, and the fact of knowing that higher perspective versus the three-dimensional. You've got that Lilith energy, which is literally on the jugular and the vein that connects with the jugular, helping you to breathe and connect this energy. So this has a lot to do with not just the heart beating, but the breathing. This is life force energy. A lot of these things this week are pointing directly at Lilith, and it's asking you, hold on, I'm gonna find my note. It's asking you too, as we're looking at that Lilith energy. What I did leave out is Spirit was pointing out to us that there was a lot of fluidity. They want to see it flow nice and easy. You're going to see a lot of this flow, but are you allowing it to flow into a higher perspective or a lower perspective? It's a lot like a paper plane. If you haven't made the paper plane well, it's just going to dive bomb. But if you've done it well, it will float for right now. And they're asking you, in order to make it float, you need to be tapping into that inner child. This is your inner fifth house. It's your creative expression. What makes you tick? What makes you enjoy being here? What makes you want to be part of this life still? What do you want to do? This is where, like I said, the athletes, you know, they are enjoying playing ball. They're enjoying doing what they do. This is why they went for it in such a way. This is where your musicians, are writing their music and they just don't feel good if they're not getting to play. Their artists are being artists. If you cannot find your creative expression, you're missing something. Each and every one of us here. I always say when people are asking me, what is it that you were meant to be doing? What was your potential? Not potential. What was your reason for being here? I'm like, it's one of the things you're going to want to do, even if you don't get paid for it. It's something that you're going to do because you love it. I'm like, that fifth house is your creative expression. It's what you want to do. It's how you enjoy life. It's the hobbies and things that, when they say, if you have the perfect job, it's not like a job anymore because you're doing what you love. That's the key. Are you dive bombing like a paper plane, or are you floating? This is what they were trying to direct me at. Lilith energy is that fifth house. It is also coming into the throat and how we're speaking about needing these things in our life. Needing to take the time for these things in our life. Not just because our heart says so, but because it's what is our life. You have that Virgo energy, which is definitely going to be the abdomen. But don't forget what I did forget to say earlier. Ceres is still in retrograde, which means it's definitely looking at those masks that are coming off and those gloves that are coming off in these relationships. It is also looking at the groups and the memberships, the committees. See, it's retrograded back into the sixth house. So technically it's not in Libra, but it's that energy that's going to happen right before that full moon. And it's speaking to you directly about the chakra energy of that sacral chakra and the abdomen, and what is it being healthy in these relationships? What is it being healed? It's going to be speaking to you about this energy. And then you got the South Node, which is technically the sexual organs again, and speaking to us about how and if we are starting to rebirth or create a cycle all over again. When I get into the astrology, hold on one second. Mercury is actually moving in to Taurus, like I said. It's getting along great with Saturn. As it goes from Aries to Taurus, it's getting along great with Saturn, meaning that 12th house, setting these boundaries, acknowledging it, communicating it. It's there. Just will you communicate it properly, or will you word vomit it? A lot of the word vomiting has been coming out. But that Mercury is also sextiling Mars. Even after it goes into Taurus, it's sextiling Mars, which is your inner emotional security. It's your home energy. But this is the home more than this is the home. This is your three-dimensional idea of home. Whatever you can, where the bills are paid, where you lay your head, your bed, it is your home. It is very important, but the soul is your first home. The vessel that is carrying you is the first home. And you can't lose any of this unless you misplace it. You devalue it. And we're talking about your inner emotional security with Mars starting to come into steam energy. Mars is fire. Like I said, Pluto is the spark, Mars is fire. Pluto has been sending oddball eyes down at Mars this whole time, going, are you going to ignite and really be that spark? Or are you just going to be, water sitting in fire turning into steam? Are you going to light that soul fire in your heart? It is also feeding a water trine. Mercury into Mars, feeding a water trine of Mars, Saturn, and the South Node. Taking the ballsy change to step into something new. And making the healing come into fruition. Because Saturn is, setting new rules, laws, and boundaries, but it's in our grief, sorrow, shame, blame, and insecurity. So this is saying the only way to find the security is to believe in yourself and to try something new. Step outside of what you know. This is where the spirit started giving me the idea of that paper plane. If you don't, it's going to be another dive. Just paper plane, dive right on down. It's standing in your power, in your magic, in your fire, in your believing in the ability to make these changes and self-worth, self-value, and self-esteem. But if you don't have it, it's going to be a dive bomb. Sorry, that's what they're giving me. So this is a trine that can go very, very well for you, but it all depends on your emotions. If you can control your emotions and that inner emotional security, then you can take this to high new levels. If not, it's just going to be a dive bomb that's really not going to go anywhere for you. You have that Mercury energy, which is got kind of like a grand square going on. Squares are not good. It's more like none of the planets are getting along. They all want to come up with the right kind of idea, but they can't figure out how to come up with the right idea to all agree on. And it's not a perfect square, but it's very close. The energy is still feeling it. And you've got that Mercury, like I said, which is not getting along with Pluto. Pluto is in that 11th house. Your groups, your memberships, your committees. It's where your goals, dreams, and ambitions either have the ability to be birthed or to be stomped on. Because it's manipulating the energy one way or the other. It's the right tribe or it's the wrong tribe. It is not getting along with Pluto. The communication is not getting along with the spark of your soul fire and taking this opportunity to show the world who you are, which is not getting along with the South Node, meaning making the change because you're comfortable in your uncomfortability. And then it's not getting along with Lilith. Again, all back to, why are you here? What makes you get up and tick? What makes you every single day happy to get up and be part of this life? What is it you can't wait to do or be a part of? And are you making that part a very big part of your life? Because that's what should be a part of your life. It is saying that you're standing in the flame of your own fire, but are you afraid to speak it? Are you afraid to actually make it come true? Like I said, it has a lot to do with the community and the environment that we are part of, and how much of the product of your own environment are you? Or are you the one that's showing, that's them again. They were reminding me last week when I said this. I used The Rock as an example, like the famous actor, The Rock. They say it all the time. There are famous people who became famous people and crawled out of the hood because they kept going, they kept going, they kept going. This is the thing here. Are you making the changes? Or are you satisfied and think that's all that you do? Again, that's that make energy. Is all you can see is the swamp, and that's all you know, so let's just live in the swamp. Or are you going to find a way to birth and bloom up into this beautiful thing that you are? It's there for you. I'm getting very unpredictable energy between Mercury and Ceres, which is, like I said, in retrograde. This is your daily routines, your people, places, and things that you overlook that actually have such a big amount of manifesting energy, which is in retrograde, speaking about what you're nurturing or what you're neglecting in your daily activity, the mundane, only mundane, because you do it so repetitively, you don't even pay attention to the fact you do it. And it has a lot to do with that manifesting, speaking to the Mercury. This is speaking to the identity of who and what you are. Like I said, Mercury is going into shadow, going from Aries and into Taurus. It is literally, you're identifying with these energies, your Jupiter, your abundance, your Chiron, your wounded healer, your Vista, the keys, your Juno, the sacrifice and commitment, your Taurus, your Uranus, your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem. The North Node, speaking in that self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, creating and manifesting into your money house. All of this has to do with the way you speak to yourself and the way you speak about yourself and to the world, as well as what will you allow to be spoken to you. Remember, a lot of times they say, I've heard it said many, many times, being able to be part of my life is not my life. Hold on. Now, of course, I can't remember how it goes. But more or less, being able to be part of anybody's life means that you are respecting them, and that you love them, and that you're giving them the proper addressing, proper speaking to them, I can't think of the damn word, but if they aren't meeting you with those qualities, why do you keep meeting them? Why do you keep taking it from someone who won't speak to you with, that level of understanding you're a unique individual and that you are worthy? If they're speaking to you from a lower perspective and belittling them, why are you allowing them to continue to be part of your life and speak to you? This is all part of the throat chakra, how we're viewing the world, how we're seeing the world, the horns. It's Aries and Taurus, Mercury about to go shadow. Like I said, very unpredictable energy. If you are in this power feeling good about it, you're going to nurture where it hasn't been healed, and you're going to start standing in your power and demanding the healing. That doesn't mean like push and shove. It means I won't participate. I won't participate in your relationship. I won't participate in this conversation. You have that serious energy, like I said, with that Mercury, which is building right before that full moon into the relationships. You also have very unpredictable energy with that Mercury and the North Node. The moon and Mercury and the North Node right here at the full moon. And this is your emotional indifferences coming from that Libra energy, that seventh house, your groups, your memberships, your committees, what you're part of, these relationships, and how are you identifying with being in your power or lack of it. Then it's also having very unpredictable energy with Saturn and with Venus, the 12th house of the second house. Self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, integrity, or will it be belittling and you're accepting it? The 12th house is grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurities. Is that, are you holding on to vampire syndrome here? I'd rather keep pointing the finger and blaming this and just sucking every little last piece of life out of this because this is what I know works for me. Does it? You also have that moon energy speaking with Lilith and Chiron. The heart, your fire. Can you stand in your power? Can you believe in you? Can you dig deep enough to find the true you and illuminate the source of you? And then bring the healing to it and reignite who that is to your character. Or are you uncomfortable with stepping into your power because you're more comfortable with letting others run your life or being a joint life? Let me say it was joint relationship, like in married couples. Sometimes it's so and so and so and so. It's Bob and Sarah. They're not just one being. They are individuals, is what I'm saying. So this is, where is the relationship making you lose your personal identity? You got Pluto, which is getting along great with Neptune. There's your magic, but what will you do with it? Pluto is that source, the source spark, so to speak. Wanting to show that outer world who he is and find out the proper tribe, as well as remove people who need to be who are being exposed, because that's what's happening right now. Pluto is exposing a lot of these relationships. And with that magic, that's Neptune. It gives you the opportunity to end the cycle. But will you? You've got Saturn, which is getting along great with Venus. If you can trust in your gut, the sensitivity will lead you the right way. It's just, will you be standing in your boots shaking instead of acting? Venus is also having, it's definitely, Saturn is getting along with Venus, but don't forget that Mercury, that Uranus, that Juno, that North Node are all here in that Taurus energy as this is happening. So, like I said, this all comes down to, will you stand in the power of being in the power, or will you shake in the boots? This is, how do you communicate with yourself? Do you have integrity to say no, to show your value, or to not allow yourself to be devalued? Because that second house also is responsible for your money. It's responsible for your manifestation. And if you're not feeling that, if you're not feeling it, you're more or less saying, well, get that shit away. You have that Venus energy is also getting along great with Pluto. All you have to do is believe in you, babe. But there's going to be questions asking if you really do. You have that Lilith, that fire in the heart, asking you to go deeper, really truly dig deeper into what it is that you are, what you want to be, what you're here for, what makes you enjoy life, not just to serve your purpose, but to enjoy it. And it is getting along great with the Sun and with Chiron, starting to show that identity of a new level of your true authentic identity, if you're really getting into that energy. But it's not getting along with Venus, and it's not getting along with Neptune, because there's parts of us that still don't know how to truly thrive and believe and feel in that. We doubt it. And why do we allow that to happen? We have to just stop that. We have to stop walking into that comfortability of going, that's the way life's always been. No, I'm going to choose my life. I want to be part of this, and I'm not going to do this anymore. It's standing in what you thrive to be a part of. If you're not wanting to be there, why are you? You also have Lilith, who is not getting along with that moon in Sirius as it's getting ready to come into the new moon. So it's going to be questioning that Sirius retrograde, what you're nurturing or neglecting, and of what you really care about, what you're giving up that time, that effort, that energy for who and what. That sixth house is the groups and the memberships and the committees that you are part of when they are dealing with your daily routines and mundane tasks. Your people, places, and things. They are your daily activities. Every single day, you have certain little routines that you are part of. People, places, and things, those mundanes that you do it over and over and over again, have the biggest part of creating your creation of your manifestation. And this is speaking directly to what you are nurturing or neglecting in that mundane, daily important part of versus what makes your heart tick. What do you want to be here for? What is it that makes you wake up every day ready to explore life? Are you getting it? Or are you being like, no, you know what? I need you to work from 9 to 7 because so-and-so called out and you answered the phone. Your day off. Like I said at the beginning of the week, a lot of exposure, a lot of self-sabotage, a lot of energy coming up to that eclipse in the character zone of Aries, horns, me first energy. But we're trying to get you on board with the right me first energy that's actually going to catapult you forward, not catapult you backwards and into ego, because that's what the trick is right here. The yin yang, which way are you going? Saturn is not getting along with the Sun or with Chiron. This is about healing, not about ego. I love you guys. See you next week.